Good morning, everyone. Thank you for joining us. We are getting ready for our People Strategies Forum today, and super excited to have you going into a little bit cooler weather around here. Hi, Jorge. How are you today?
Hi, thank you, Char. Thank you. I'm very happy and excited to join into this call today.
Yes. And where are you located?
I'm located in Mexico City. This is where the firm is located. So our main operation is mainly in Mexico City.
Nice.
Oh, so excited to have more locations because we are global. So exciting.
How's the weather? Is it hot there?
In Mexico City, it's a little bit hot. I mean, we have a mix because in the morning it's a little bit. I mean, there's a little bit hot, and right in the afternoon it's a little bit with rain, and so the temperature drops a little bit. But I mean, with all these weather changes a lot and very frequently, so you basically, I mean, one day you can dress like I mean, with sweater or something like that, and in the afternoon you are, I mean, sweating because there's a lot of hot. So unpredictable.
That sounds like Colorado, which is where we all are. And
For Submit.
Smith is in somewhere even hotter.
India.
Yeah. Where are you, Sumit? I don't think I've ever known the city.
It's pretty close to New Delhi, which is the capital city.
Yeah.
Just about 20 kilometers south.
Okay. Oh, cool. All right. So that's hot there now, or is it? What's the season there?
It's relative. So it's about 86 degrees, which isn't as hot by our standards, but yeah.
It's really just hotter and hottest. But I heard in the Farmer's Almanac this morning. Sam, are you a skier?
I am.
Yeah,
Yep.
the Farmer's Almanac's predicting a really big snow year for Colorado.
Well, I hope so. You know what I've noticed is that the leaves on the trees started changing like 2 weeks ago.
Wow.
Which is very unusual. It's very early, and usually when the leaves change that early, it either means that we're getting ready for a big snow year, or we're coming out of a super bad drought from the summer. So I was hoping for the first one.
Yeah. Well, where do you ski? Do you do Purgatory, or where do you usually ski? Or Utah?
All over. So mostly I ski. I help run the ski patrol at a small ski area called Hesperus. And so I do a lot of skiing there, and then I do a lot of backcountry skiing. And so, you know, but I also like Silverton Mountain, it's kind of funny. Silverton Mountains is just a one-chair ski lift. It only has one ski lift, but it's a very just beautiful extreme type skiing. It's the highest ski area in the United States. So
I'd be really careful there, Sam, because now that you're telling all of us this, we're all going to come up and visit you.
Yeah.
Is that on the Epic Pass?
Yeah. My son loves that Epic Pass. So it's a pass where you can ski on many of the large ski areas in Colorado, and it's quite a great deal, and a lot of people love to do that. So it's a great.
So obviously we are representing all over the place between Mexico and India and Colorado and the luxury place that Sam lives. We are luckily I'm by the airport, so I can just jump on an airplane and go. Well, I guess, but they did turn the social distancing. I heard on the news this morning the social distancing for the 6 foot is apparently not enough. So they're going to now make us,
Just when we were getting used to 6 feet, now we have to be further apart.
So now what is the new distance? We have to be like, I don't know. We have to see them on the horizon somewhere?
Yeah. So they said if you're a cigarette smoker, it's like if you're smoking cigarettes and you see smoke that floats around, that's about as far away from people that you have to be.
Huh. Oh, that since nobody here smokes anymore, that's going to be tough.
No, we're in Colorado there, Lisa.
Yeah, you're smoking different stuff.
The other thing I'm hearing is the challenges of parents. Parents are going through, it's school opening day right now. And so, by the way, that is my little school chair I put back there. That's my little school chair that I used to sit in when I was in school.
When you were in trouble or just when you were working?
I'll ask Dad about that. My little school chair, it's just like my little teeny chair.
That's
But
where you still
yeah.
have to.
Huh?
So Jorge, is school in session in Mexico?
Yes, we started on Monday. My sister, which has a daughter, I mean, and both of my sisters, I have one that is, both of them have little children. So one is like 4 years old and the other one is 2. So both of them start school yesterday. I mean, online school. But yeah, I mean, we experienced the same thing that Char said. It's like they have a specific place in which they work or they do the thing. So it is very challenging for moms right now. Yeah.
Parents,
Yeah, that is true. My son is up in Portland, Oregon, and that's Northwest United States, and in there, a very liberal community in terms of just politically and in every way, really. And anyway, so he is starting tutoring for what's called a micro school, which is a movement that's being started up in Portland by a bunch of families that are like, we don't have the time or the skill to homeschool our kids. So they're forming little pods of groups of kids and then hiring tutors. Basically, my son is not a certified teacher at this point. He probably will become one, but he's been tutoring for years since he was in college and everything. So he's actually got a full-time job teaching a bunch of 7th graders math and science. So
Wow.
In lieu of the parents who are trying to work, you know? Yeah.
What a fantastic career choice right now.
Yes.
I mean, tutoring is so needed.
A lot.
I could use some tutoring.
I think that's part of constant retooling, right? So we all need.
Yeah, I'm very good at algebra, but I guess maybe I don't need it. I don't know.
When my kids got to 7th grade, my daughter comes home, I said, "You've got letters in there now. I can't help you. I'm sorry."
As soon as they start introducing letters into the numbers.
With their numbers, I'm good, but yeah.
Yeah. Well, talk about growth and development for parents and youth included. Talk about a lot of change we're going through.
That's right.
So, well, anyway, we're about to get started here. Hey, look, I'm going to start on top of the hour.
Hey.
So, hi, everyone. Thank you for coming to our People Strategy Forum. My name is Char Miller, and I'm here hosting with a fabulous team, talented team today around People Strategy Forums and how we create innovative leadership for our time. So as you know, we're going through some amazing times. And also we have an excellent guest speaker today, Jorge Martínez, and he'll be joining us. So your hosts, this is myself. I am Char Miller. I am a talent strategist, people strategist. I've worked with major healthcare systems, and I'm also someone that speaks as a current people owner around talent strategies and with my own company. And I also do a career consulting. Also happy to work with Sam Reeve, and Sam is a reward strategist, and he has been an amazing partner with me for several years now as we've created these people strategies, and also the founder and owner of Comp Team. And then Lisa Jackson is a culture strategist, and she's just been a phenomenal addition to our team. And she is an employee experience expert. So thank you, Lisa, for joining us. And then Sumit Singla is also a people strategist. And boy, if you take a look at his background, he is just a wealth of background to help us with the strategy. And he also owns his own company in talent management consulting. So today we have an exciting agenda. We have Jorge Martínez, and he's the founder and owner of Erección.
Uh-huh.
Okay, well,
No. You said it. You said it correctly. No.
That's okay. I got to work on these things. Well, you'll get a chance to introduce yourself, and he's from Mexico City, so this is so exciting. We are a global company. I have to say, global partners all over the place, even from Mexico. So he's going to talk with us, and he also owns his own industry and company, and is HR executive search firm that helps companies definitely during these times of looking for exceptional talent during these challenging times. But before we get started, I'm going to go into some basic logistics of what we're going to do today. First of all, I'm just going to say that we love to be highly interactive. Those of you that have been watching us through the last, since the end of March, we like to include our participants, leaders, HR executives, all the type, to participate in the chat down below. So we would ask you to let us know you're here, first of all, also to put any questions, comments, and let us know if there's anything you'd like to talk about. We'd like to engage you in the conversation. Also, we are on Facebook Live, we're on LinkedIn, and I have to tell you, we're all over social media. So we like to promote, and we'd love for you to share, because there's a lot of colleagues like you that are out there looking for innovative and progressive ways to take care of their talent and their cultures. And this is a best practice, and it's actually for free. So we like to promote that. So today, this is what we're all about. So today we are going to talk about building an attraction culture. And Lisa and I are going to spend some time dialoguing about that. And then also Jorge and Sam are going to talk about creating a recruiting process that attracts the best candidates, because we know it's pretty difficult right now. And Sumit is always going to be involved and help us along the discussion. And all of us are going to be watching those chats down below to make sure that we're all getting our needs answered. Also, Sam, you're going to pull up a poll, right? Because we have a free gift. We always have a free gift. So can you share your poll?
That's right. I'll launch that right now.
Okay.
So basically, anybody can, if you're looking at having time with any of the speakers today or anyone that's on this list, feel free to schedule time and we'll reach out to you. Also, we are offering the free access to the TMA assessment, which is the TMA portal. So what will happen there is we'll send you an assessment or it's a questionnaire. You fill in that questionnaire, and then you'll get access to the portal with all your work style and behavioral attributes. It's very fascinating. We'll talk a little bit more about that today, but it's our free gift to you.
Yes, thank you so much. So you can simply just reduce the image on your screen, and that will be available to you if you click on the poll. Just want to say, I highly recommend that all of our participants go back and look at our prior recordings. We have an amazing pool of talent that is prior speakers, and all of them have provided some free gifts and resources as well. So if you listen, it's at compteam.net, and go back and as I always say, instead of listening to some of the depressing news, it might be nice to listen to something encouraging as we forge ahead in our future. So without further ado, let's go ahead and get started. We're going to get off and talk about how we manage, evolve, and thrive during this recovery phase. So I'm happy to say that I love my partner, Lisa Jackson. She has just been awesome. And thank you, Lisa. You've just been a great addition to our team. And so today we're going to talk about TMA, we're going to talk about CompTeam, and we're going to talk about how my company, Rocky Mountain Health Advocates, has really forged ahead as a kind of a test pilot and building an attraction culture case study in our organization. So I just want to give you a brief synopsis of our history at Rocky Mountain Health Advocates. My business partner and I started this company in 2017 after I left my corporate job. We were quite the funny story because we both were laid off from a very big corporate culture. And when I met my partner, Bruce, I said, we're going to start a company. And now what's so ideal about it, it is now Rocky Mountain Health Advocates. So as we know, health is so important, and we're doing pretty well. We have locations in Colorado, we have locations in Montana, and we're even looking at Portland, believe it or not. So we're thriving. We're pretty small. We're a startup company, and we have, I think we only have about 15 employees. We're going to be growing to about 30 employees. The reason why I talk about it today is that we are a case study and relative to what employers are really going through right now. So I have to tell you, I have had blood, sweat, and tears. I've dealt with the challenges of being an employer in this environment today. I just want to give you a quick story that we have been doing a lot of things about building the attraction culture as we talk about. And first and foremost, I want to say thank you to Sam, Reeve, and CompTeam. They're currently helping us restructure our entire compensation model, which has been phenomenal because, you know, I'm not saying money is the most important thing, but employees really need to take care of their families. They need to feel secure, and having a nice, solid, competitive compensation structure is so important. And so that's one of the things that we're doing. We also are working on having free, affordable healthcare for our employees. We've also installed that into our company. We're so no cost health coverage. So there's all kinds of resources. We've been doing that. And also we've been doing things to create an innovative culture with our employees. So for example, we just offered now a phone sanitizer for our clients. So they can come in and they can stick their phone in a little machine and they can sanitize their phone. And we also just gave our employee an incentive for doing that. So we are doing all kinds of things, and I'll just pepper in some of those great ideas that we're doing with our company to let you know the innovative ideas in this day and age. So anyway, hey Lisa, what do you think about the idea of building an attraction culture? Because you are a culture expert.
Yes, so supposedly I am. And yeah, that sounds really much more highfalutin than it is. But I think that what companies have started to realize is that the idea of working for a paycheck isn't really as relevant any longer as a motivation for the kind of workforce that is showing up today, right? And a lot of people coming into the workforce as younger people feel that for sure, but a lot of us just even who are older feel that as well, like that it's important to have meaningful work. It's important to have an organization that hires people that get along with each other really well. And so the attraction culture idea is really creating that glove-like fit with your people. And it has been really interesting to explore through that lens and talk to leaders, both leaders and employees through that lens. So I'm excited about our conversation today in regards to that.
Right. So I talk about, thank you. And I'm excited to talk about the tactical activities that we do, but really it's now to get to the heart of what it really means to create an attraction culture. I have actually been the HR person. Oh, yes. This is my pen, HR with a heart. Somebody gave me this, and this is my HR with a heart. And then this is my HR with a heart paper holder.
Yeah. So, we could all use more heart. You've got a big one.
Okay, I have to say, Lisa, I have worked in HR for more than 25 years. I'll just leave it at 25. And I have worked with large healthcare systems and other systems, including, you know, government and logistics and various things. And I was the one that was supposed to be in charge of the culture and the talent. And I have to say, now that I've been out of that type of work for a while and now partnered with CompTeam and people like you, I now have a completely different idea about what HR with a heart really means. And that's why I'm so excited that we're going to talk about that today, because we have a way that you can truly lead beyond some of the traditional programs. So if you want to go ahead to the next slide there, Sam. So yes, so what is your thought on this, Lisa? You say your managers are accountable for up to 70% of the variance in your employees' engagement. So workplace data, crystal clear that employees want coaches, not bosses. What are your thoughts, Lisa?
That second one really resonates with me, that I don't think any of us really want a boss, right? Which has that kind of idea of somebody, you know, telling you what to do. And I think that there are people that are more or less needing guidance, right? So you may need more structure and guidance depending on your talents and drives, which we're going to explore in a few minutes. But I think we all really want to have someone in our court who brings out the best in us. And that, I think, is the biggest shift around what I was saying earlier about not just coming to work for a paycheck, which is this idea that formed, I think, over the Industrial Revolution, that, you know, the boss was really responsible for the productivity and the performance in the organization, and the employees were just workers, you know. And that notion has really flipped, I think, to where now managers are really having to look at bringing people's best talents forth and cultivating them. And that's complex. I remember hearing, and Char, you could speak to this, that I think it was a few years ago, that probably the #1 skill that every manager needs today is to become a psychologist. And it's really uncomfortable for a lot of people, because you're trained in business, you're trained in finance, you're trained in IT, you're trained in whatever your technical aspect is, but not necessarily in how to bring out the best in people. So it's a very different world.
Well, one of my, pardon me, HR people, but one of my jokes is, bring me your issue, I have a tissue. That's
right.
But I don't mean to make fun of the world of HR people, but I have to say that in my field, because I had over 1,000 employees at a time, and in my book, what I call a book of business, and at the time, as a business partner for my division. And at the time, a lot of employees would come in, they'd be distraught, they'd be upset, you know, and their bosses would be just as much distraught and upset. And so, yeah, you have to have a kind of a psychology mentality. And luckily I have a minor in psychology, but that's just a minor. But now more than ever, I think it's really challenged me, because during the lockdown, and the fact that we didn't think that we were going to sustain, or we were worried about our sustainability with our company, it actually brought in an entirely different idea or mindset about how I really relate with my employees, to really be a coach and a support system with our employees during this critical time, because there's so much fear, anxiety, worry about what's going on with the future of the company. So this has only, I think, tripled the focus. And the manager, as you say, 70% of the variance is about engagement. It's not just about an engagement program anymore. It's about really getting into the minds, hearts, and spirit of the employee to really help them be as successful and secure as they can in the company.
I agree with that. And one thing that also about this statement, then we probably need to move on about, is the word accountable. And I think that that's also a really big shift, that if we see managers as being held accountable to engagement, not just the outcomes or the results, that creates a whole different set of expectations in the organization. And a lot of different training and development needs arise from that, rather than it just being something, oh, this is a nice to have, you know, if you're good, if you bring out people and engage people, that's great. But what we're really looking for is the results. And I think it's flipping, and it's the other way around.
Right. So here we go. We're going to start talking about what this is going to look like. And so we're going to provide you a kind of a new model here of how we're thinking about our employees. And I'm going to pepper in how my company has utilized this with my own strategy. So what we've applied here as a case study with Rocky Mountain Health Advocates is we've aligned the TMA method, what we call a TMA alignment model, and really analyzing, and to the right here, you're going to see how it perfectly explains that we looked at the drives to the strategy, the behaviors that's key to alignment, and then providing work that provides meaning. So I'm not going to get into the details of the services that we provide, but our employees need to be very much in alignment with the strategy of health advocacy. And we know that right now, a lot of individuals, community, and our world as a whole is all about the strategy of improving our healthcare. And so we really needed to align our work that really made a difference in our clients' and lives. And then also we realized that some of the behaviors of our employees, that the original behaviors of the individuals that we were hiring last year didn't necessarily look like the behaviors we're needing today. And there was so much change that needed to happen, and that each of us need to provide meaning into our clients and the customer service. Hey, Sam, did you have a thought about that?
No, yeah. Just to elaborate on this, I think this is a great model that when we're talking about building an attraction culture, we have to think about, we have to really be very transparent and communicate out to our candidates out in the workplace about what our company is all about. What's our employee value proposition that we're trying to communicate to ensure that we get the right roles. That means letting the community and the workforce know what our values are and what we expect in the organization. So I think that's this top green triangle here. And then of course the blue is aligning that with the people that are in our organization, as well as those that are outside our organization that are looking at us as an employer. So yeah, this is a great model. I just love it.
Mhm.
Yeah, and it was interesting because when I worked in some of my former positions, I had VPs and executives that really challenged me about thinking about how do you align the talent management strategy to your competency strategy. And I have to admit, in the last 6 years, my mindset about this, now being a real business owner that really understands this, is completely shifted. So for example, in our world, we did a competency profile analysis and identified that things like assertiveness and attention to detail was extremely important in the behavior that's needed to drive those operational outcomes, which ultimately results in improved service to our clients, as well as improve our overall return on investment. So, here I am, an HR person, getting a full-fledged drink out of the fire hose. How do you align finance, operational outcomes, return on investment to behavior and talent management? And so this has been a great opportunity. Hi, Sumit, did you have a couple thoughts and your thoughts about this?
Absolutely. Thanks, Char. I think this is a great model. We've got a fantastic question up there in the chat, that how do we incorporate this as part of the hiring model? And I did have one or two thoughts about how I've seen talent management being part of the hiring space. So I'll just take a few seconds and we'll seek your thought on that as well. So what I've seen, at least in the Indian context, is that a lot of organizations are putting out the talent management experience out in the open. So you bring somebody on board, and then you encourage them to tell their own story on various social platforms and various forums about the three things on the right side. So meaningful work that's driving strategy, and what are the behaviors the organization values. So for anyone looking for a career in that organization, it becomes a great positive message, and you're hearing straight from the horse's mouth. So that's one of the ways in which I've seen this model in action, but I look forward to your expert opinion on this as well.
Fantastic. So if we could go ahead and progress to the next slide, we'll talk about how we've certainly applied this. So we call this the 6 steps of the TMA method. So I have to say, this is where it really resonated. Those of us at CompTeam are going through the training with Andre Blum and his company. And when you really apply this in a real case study, creating those competency profiles are so critical to really analyze. So for example, at Rocky Mountain Health Advocates, we have what's called a health advocacy role, and really do a look at those profiles of a health advocate and really do a talent assessment with our organization. And we've been blessed to be able to have these tools to utilize to take a look at our team, our primary key roles in our team, and then look at the competency levels that were needed in those roles that are going to really apply to creating that environment, not only for creating a great work environment, employee experience for our employees, but create a great client experience. And then when we get to our matching side, is that last year, and I'll just say, we have a great big organization called ADP. Okay, I know I'm an HR girl. I have to say, I hired a company to help me with HR because I wanted to have HR business partners to be able to help my employees. Last year, what we did is we had your traditional interview questions. So it was like, what are your strengths? What are your strengths? What are your weaknesses? What are your 5 accomplishments? Very traditional interview questions. Well, guess what? Now with the TMA, we actually have interview questions that align to our competencies, that align to our talent, and align to our actual work and productivity. And what's so super exciting, and in a future discussion, we're going to talk about this. This is actually on an app. There's an app on our phones that our managers now can literally pull up the interview questions. I call it just-in-time leadership. So our managers now can pull up the interview questions that are aligned to our competencies and the competency profiles to be able to ask the questions during the interview and be able to go through a process to really align to the right talent that we need on our teams. It's absolutely incredible. Also from there, we have a development plan because they align to the competencies, in addition to the mobility plan of helping our employees move throughout the organization, and if necessary, if they need to maybe move to a different organization altogether. So this could be an entire presentation if we were to really go through all the details of our 6 steps of the TMA method, but it all comes back to the recruitment processes. The interview processes that we're doing here in my company are very different. I have been told by my director and my manager that the quality of the candidates that we're hiring have basically tripled as far as the return on investment. We are finding candidates that are achieving the numbers and productivity and attitude and skill sets and talent that we never had last year. So in fact, I think that doing a reset button during this period of when we were on the shutdown has really given me personally the time to really analyze how to apply the TMA method to attract and retain the very best talent that we can achieve. And so if any of you would love to talk to me, I will talk to you about how we've made a change. So one of the stories is that when we started our first day, back when the first day that we opened, because we're located in malls, I know, not the best place to be opening right now, but we reopened our organization, and as the chief HR officer in the mall, I talked to our employees about how our company is doing something extremely different in regards to performance management and how we align expectations with the work that we do. So I talked about how we're doing talent assessments now, we're identifying interests and preferences and skill set, and how we're going to create a coaching culture. Any thoughts about that, Lisa? What do you think about what we're doing?
I was just reading the chat and looking at some of the comments in the chat. I mean, this is echoed, what I'm about to say is being echoed there too, which is that it all begins with clearly identifying the competencies that you want for that position, and then being able to have what I think has been so eye-opening for me about this TMA is that you then are able to really map on to those competencies, what talents and drives does that individual hold that are enabling or potentially would be areas of coaching, or even in some cases barriers to that person being. And so it's just a lot different from my perspective to hire and even just go through the hiring process than what has felt to me in a lot of the organizations I've worked in with the culture work. It feels a bit like it's a personality assessment, right? It's something where, do we like this person? Do they fit with the culture? Rather than really looking at the best cultural fit, and especially in in an era where we're being a lot more sensitive to diversity and inclusion is to have a broad range of personalities on your team. That's really the best kind of high performance teamwork. But people, I think, are happiest and most productive when they're winning. So if you can align up the competency with the person's natural drives and talents, it just, to me, has been really eye-opening to go through this process with TMA and just understand it better, how powerful it is. And it's not, I'm not saying that from a salesy standpoint, just like really, it's flipped for me the entire sort of thought process around what it means to hire the right fit for your culture.
Absolutely. I would say that the conversations that I've been having with my management team have been very, very different. The interview processes are far deeper and far more meaningful because every employee or candidate out there has heard of the traditional interview questions. And I'm sorry, that is a little laissez-faire. We need to up our game. We need to be progressive. We need to be innovative. Our talent expects something very different with the employers that are hiring them to create that attraction culture, to create a great place to work. They expect to work not only at bringing their best talent, they want to work with other colleagues that also exemplify the same drive and talent that they exhibit. So that's very much different. So let's go ahead and go to the
one thing before you move on, Char, that I just wanted to mention, and I know you're going to get into some of your specifics here now. And this is coming out in the chat too. People are curious also about the app that you're using. So I think Sam has guided them to that. But this piece around development is something that I really can't wait to hear you talk about how you've done that with Rocky Mountain, because the sort of building the culture from the get-go around the fact that individuals are invested in their development. And it's just part of the normal way of doing business to have these conversations around what are your strengths rather than overcoming weaknesses, you know, and how are we going to develop them? I think that's one of the most powerful things that I see. I see organizations still hesitant around doing that, you know, with the management and kind of seeing that as something that is HR's responsibility. So I'm looking forward to hearing you.
Yeah, well, I have to say, we're probably going to need to do another presentation on this topic, but I have to say that I also was in charge of the learning and development department in my prior work. And I have to admit, it was hard for me to really align the developmental activities that were really in alignment to the organizational drives, outcomes, everything that was expected.
Right.
I love the fact that I've been able to apply this tool. And so I'll just kind of come up with a simple example. So our work has to be very much about attention to detail, very much about alignment to the detail of the work, and also assertiveness. So what I love about the app that you're going to get a chance to have a peek at is that at your fingertips, if you need your competency around attention to detail or assertiveness aligned to the developmental behaviors, you actually have recommended activities that are just in time, that are very much about coaching and mentoring and supporting, that actually give a specific detailed advice. And what's different is not just the manager's accountability, it's a team accountability. Because my organization, we all have to perform as a team to have the reimbursements that we need in order to sustain. And that's a team activity. So if I have an employee that's really great at attention to detail or assertiveness, we set up developmental pods to really support that person in their success. So that could be an entire other dialogue, but it definitely is about creating that development culture that we haven't seen before. So being that we don't have a lot more time left, I just wanted to share with you, we have building our performance culture. So we are about creating a performance culture. It is absolutely a formula that we all have to be on the same page. The type of culture that we have today, talking about our expectations for each other and giving real, candid, transparent, authentic feedback on a daily basis, is very much about our culture. Almost to the point of I'm like, okay, now we're being a little too transparent. But at the same time, we're open and honest. Our CEO, our chief operations officer, our compliance officer, myself, as well as the director and manager, we are constantly talking about what we can do to support and help our employees through this process. We're giving real just-in-time feedback. It's very much about it. We do not do performance evaluations anymore, folks. So those of you that are HR people and you've been talking about what do I need to do to get rid of my performance evaluation process, that is gone. So now we have gone to this competency coaching for performance culture. And what I explained to my employees yesterday when I met with them is that
what is the difference?
oh, well, all right. I don't know about you, Lisa, but have you sat in on your 1-year performance evaluation and they checked the box and they talked about, well, you achieved this target, you achieved that. I'm going to give you a 3% merit or 2% merit increase. And you're like going, wait. I don't even remember talking about that.
Yeah.
I could go on, and many of you HR professionals know, if you look at SHRM, you look at the progressive, the talent management strategies, performance evaluations are really moving away.
And I think one thing I want to say about that, Char, is that it's one of the most, in the work I do, so I've been an external consultant in the culture realm for 22 years, so I haven't had a performance review for my business other than do my clients keep me. That's my performance review, right? But I know when I interview people or I do private interviews or I'm doing an assessment around culture, it is one of the #1 cited, most hated, most feared business processes organizationally that touches people. And it's for this reason. It's this thing like you're saying, there's a disconnect between what I think I'm doing well or here to do or being held accountable to and that process. But here's the other flip side of it, and I know you're going to speak to this. It's also, how else do we get a raise? So if you're eliminating the performance evaluation, what's the process by which I get a salary increase? And that, I think, is the territory in which organizations are needing to do that, do that redefinition, is around not just eliminating the performance evaluation, but replacing it with something that's really clear that my performance is tied to my pay. And I know Sam can speak to this all day long.
He has been awesome. Thank you, Sam. Go ahead.
Yeah, the one thing we could do a whole, I mean, and we should do a whole session on performance management techniques. There's a variety of them, and I've spoken on this a lot of times in the past, and a lot of companies are still at that, are still doing the annual performance review. I mean, matter of fact, almost a little bit more than 70% of companies are still doing it, and because it works for them to a certain extent. Now there's also real-time feedback and a lot of things that are going on that are better for a lot of modern companies and in the contemporary workforce. So we'll have to put put that on our list of topics to talk about. But it is definitely something that creates an attractive culture for when people are looking for the next place at work. How do they get feedback? How do they know that feedback is fair, and how does it help them grow in their career? And our modern workforce is looking for that feedback. So it's true, the annual performance review, if it's just that review in itself as part of the performance element, is not enough.
Check the box.
Right.
Well, I have to tell you guys, my employees are already performing above and beyond expectation right now, just because of the nature of how we are coaching and developing our employees. And they know that, we have to be in compliancy and all of the things that we do. We talk to our healthcare attorneys and everybody that we're working with. They said we're one of the most compliant they've ever seen. Actually, I'm very proud to say that. And that, so having an expert when it comes to compensation and practices that really promote, as to the right, growth, results, and innovation, it's really important to have the right team to be able to support you in that. And I'm so blessed to have this case study to be able to apply it. And we've really seen an improvement. So back to our slide here, you'll see that I've seen that we've had an improvement in the hiring for culture and performance. We have true data that can show that we've definitely improved in the way that we're hiring employees. Our regular check-ins we do basic, obviously a Zoom call every week with all of us, all hands on deck. We have strategic meetings with our leaders where we do Zoom. We do in-person meetings as long as we're wearing our personal protective equipment. We're always modeling that, but we do in-person meetings. And we have constant, frequent status updates around growth and development. And our employees are very much involved based upon their talents to give us their input and feedback in all of these conversations, and is definitely part of our new performance model. So love to share some of those best practices moving forward. So if we want to go to the next slide, and we'll wrap up here pretty quick here. So again, this is all about employee behavior and what are we required to do? Obviously, with my industry, it's very much about regulatory and compliance. What is it we mandate? There's certain things that we're allowed to do. So although I give my employees tremendous flexibility to, for example, when it comes to face masks, I allow my employees to come up with all the different types of face masks with the glasses and the varying types of face masks. And there's certain things within the rules that we're allowed to do. So I give my employees autonomy in that. What can we do? So, we definitely talk about the things that if you have ideas and interests, what can we do that's really going to make a difference? And then what do you want to do? So I'm very proud of the fact that my company, my employees work part-time and they are able to make full-time wage at part-time hours. So most of my employees are like, okay, I want to be home and take care of my kids. So giving that flexibility. So it's definitely been just a tremendous model that has made a difference in my small or startup organization that has made a huge difference. It's just a different way of thinking about it. And I would really say having a thought partner, I have this beautiful team around me. I have a culture strategist, a talent management strategist, I have a compensation strategist, and other friends like Jorge that you're gonna hear in a minute talk about talent acquisition strategy. We are definitely creating a attraction culture. We have been told that we are one of the best employers that people want to look at. We still are looking at hiring more. In fact, we're very much about diversity and inclusion, by the way. I want to briefly say this because I'm going to run out of time. Yesterday, we had met with a gentleman in a wheelchair, one of our new employees, and he introduced us to the DVR, vocational rehab company. We talked about ways to accommodate if you have a hand disability or working in a wheelchair, what can we do so that you can do the things you're required to do, that you're allowed to do, what you want to do, and create that inclusion. And also we're looking at ways to make it a very diverse workforce of all different types, language and ethnicities. And it's just been an amazing opportunity to be able to be the role model of what an employer may want to aspire to be.
So Char, something before you close, there's something, go back to the previous slide for just a minute, if you would. I wanted to, you had given an example of just even how, you're doing the meeting culture. So you built this particular specific meeting around a way of, fostering those 6 steps, especially in the development area. And just, can you just, it was really good to kind of hear you talk about that example, and also the example of rather than having punitive disciplinary action, be the key focus, how has it happened when you've had to discipline somebody, right? When you have to give them feedback that's negative and course correction, how are we doing that differently than what's been maybe seen as the traditional way of just like write somebody up and, get right?
Oh yeah, so it is not a fun world being a company leader and having to really identify expectations and when employees are not aligned to those expectations. So I've really been thinking about how have we been transparent, clear, upfront, put those expectations in writing and very upfront and having those dialogues. But unfortunately, there have been times perhaps with not truly understanding, because I think some of our employees, are just absolutely, we've had employees say they're just absolutely amazed at the culture that we provide and the environment we provide, at the pay we provide, and sometimes have taken liberties, I guess I could put it that way, kind of beyond the boundaries.
Yeah.
So as a traditional employer, we do have to, I say that we moved away from your traditional performance evaluation process, because we use a coaching modeling TMA method of coaching for performance. But you do have to document, you do have to document if there are those periods where we have to do course real-time feedback and course corrective action as we have there. You do have to document that. But at the same time, I would say, this is back to my HR with heart, right? Sadly, I have had to be laying off hundreds of people, and I could tell you stories, but I signed some mutual agreement, probably couldn't tell you all those, but HR with heart. Here's the deal, is that you can have heart. You can be transparent, honest, upfront, even if you have to do a course feedback or correction documented process. I think you're going to find employees more motivated, more inspired, more driven to be part of the team when they know that you've already set that culture. And if you have to put it in writing, that it's going to be more accepting. So even months.
To that point too, Char, just to that point, I think I have seen, one of the things that I see a lot is that willingness to address either somebody who's falling short of expectations, somebody who's either pulling the team down or who's blatantly ignoring the rules. If you don't address that ends up creating the opposite of an attraction culture, because then people feel like, well, what's the point of these expectations, or what's the point of these rules, so to speak, if not everybody is being held to them. So it's an important part, being able to give negative, I guess you call it, or constructive or corrective feedback is a hugely important part of this process. It doesn't mean that it's all happy talk, right?
Right.
It's just as important for you to be able to give that feedback. But what I think is so different about what you're describing here is it's in the context of all this other stuff that you're doing around it, that people now can't just say, well, I didn't realize what was expected of me, or I didn't realize what the rules were. It's really creating that container and then finding out, is there something going on in that person's life that's making it hard for them to fulfill that, or what can we do to help you or support you? So it's a very different kind of conversation.
That is definitely true. And I found that it has to be a very integrated talent management philosophy at all levels of the organization. The CEO, myself, also owner of the company, CHRO, and the director, the manager, and the compliance officer, we all have to be very integrated so that when we communicate with that employee, that they're hearing the consistent message from all of us. And we always say, yeah, there was a little blip in the road. We had a mistake here. There was something that we didn't align with. We're only here to help you be successful. And the feedback we got from one particular employee is, well, I was thinking that your compensation plan and everything was too good to be true. And I have to admit that maybe I was not as engaged or aligned as I should have been. But now that I've seen the way you operate, I'm definitely making a commitment to be more in alignment. So I think it's just a very different way of managing than you've ever seen with your traditional employers.
Cool.
So to wrap up here, I think we're going to move to our next topic. So I just want to say, we are happy to talk with you, any one of us. I'm happy to talk with you because I personally have gone through this pain, going through all of this, going through this transformation. I'm happy to talk with you, Lisa, Sumit, Sam, and just click on the poll down below. And then also email Sam if you'd like a free TMA assessment that we will offer you. It's a great way to kind of get an experience of what the TMA looks like, what it feels like, and get your own personal experience of taking that process. And then we'll be happy to coach and support you with your companies.
So that and once again, that TMA assessment, you can just sign up through the poll as well. So
excellent. So I'm so happy to move forward. Thank you, Lisa. That was a great discussion.
Thank you, Char. That's great.
So we are so happy to have Jorge come on with us today. and super talented and has a great organization around talent acquisition. And I have to tell you, it's a bit of a challenge today in this work environment. So hi, Jorge. How are you doing today?
Hi, thank you, Char. I'm fantastic. I was paying attention to all the things that you and Lisa were talking about. I completely agree with the alignment model that you have. It is fantastic, and it is. I believe it's one key component if you want to attract people and to build a culture that attracts the best people and also gets the most out of them. So I completely agree, and that's a fantastic model.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Thank you. Sam, Shard, do you want me to start talking about a little bit about the things that do you want me to ask some questions?
Well, absolutely. Jorge, if you could just share your screen and show us your presentation, we can start there.
Perfecto. Yes, I will.
Jump in because I know you have a lot to share with us today.
Yeah, let me just find the bottom. It's how can I share my presentation?
So there's a share screen button at the very bottom of, if you scroll down with your mouse, it should pop up.
Compartida. Yes, you're right. it's the green one, you know, I mean.
Yeah, the big green button in the
middle. Okay, so do you see my screen? Let me just.
I see there it goes. I see.
Perfect.
It now.
Thank you very much. Do you see my presentation?
Yes, I do. Mm-hmm.
Thank you. Thank you very much for inviting me. I'm very excited to join to you and to share a little bit of the things that we, how you can help, or how you can create a recruitment process that attracts the best candidates, not once, but on a consistent basis, without hiring someone else to do it for you. So I would like to give you just a big strategy overview on how things are handling today. We see, I would like to share with you that companies that are people-oriented create more wealth on a consistent basis. So this is not something that I just, that we just saw in the last 3 years. So it has been proven on a constant basis. So this study was published by Boston Consulting Group, and the companies that they consider, they compared companies that were that receive a recognition from the human capital management for 3 years on a consistent basis, and they compared these companies against the S&P 500. So what they found is that the companies that are people-oriented creates more wealth consistently, even in challenging times like the ones we have or we are experiencing right now. So if we want to create what are a company that creates or value talent on a consistent basis, they also try to understand what are the main roles that companies, or the main functions that the HR can support building this culture. So they found that talent acquisition and talent management and also leadership were one of the most important characteristics to find in those companies. So they found that if people make an effort trying to polish those departments or those areas in the company, they found that they were more likely to generate more revenue and higher profit margin for them. Right. So if we understand.
Just real quick there, Jorge. I mean, and it seems it's so obvious when you think about it. I mean, if we bring in the wrong person to our organization that is either a low performer or is not a fit with our culture or and so forth, does not interface with the client well. I mean, the amount of disruption and that person makes can be extremely significant. And so it's not surprising to see that these numbers and how important talent acquisition is to the old talent process as a whole. And just bringing in the wrong person doesn't just hurt immediate performance, but then you have to go out and do it again and find the right person next time. And if you do it incorrectly the first time, it's a huge cost impact.
Yes, I completely agree with you, Sam. And one of the things that it is critically important if we want to create this culture of attracting the best candidates for our company it is not only an HR job, it is a job in which you work side by side with your hiring manager in the co-creation process of creating this culture. So what I found in most of the time, it's like the recruitment teams are always working in a rush, right? It's always working in an urgency. We put recruitment teams. I would like to say very respectfully, but silly KPIs like time to fill a position for a company. So I really don't. I mean, not agree with that specific measure for your talent acquisition team. So because I mean, it considers a lot of things more, right?
Right. We talked about this in the past, Jorge. I know that and I do a lot of in my work as a compensation specialist, I'm putting together metrics of performance, and time to fill is a traditional metric for performance in a talent acquisition organization. But as we all know, having a metric that's only on production and not on quality or how it was done, or if we're looking at the right ethical reasons or behaviors, then that metric will go awry. So it's very important that we not just have the production element, but also think about, the quality, that factors that we need to do.
Yes, exactly. The quality, and also that, for example, if we are going to measure, I mean, the recruitment team for the deliveries, I mean, I can get the candidates, but if the hiring manager doesn't give me any feedback on time, he delays the interview process. So I mean, I am responsible for my side, but if you don't get the results, I mean, this is a little bit of the co-creation process that works hand by side, recruitment and the talent and the hiring manager.
Right. And in a talent action in your role, Jorge, I mean, you're almost a matchmaker, right? You actually have two clients at one time. You have to make sure that you're dealing with the hiring manager and making sure that you're satisfying them, and also the candidate who we would like to make an employee of the company or a part of the workforce. Their experience is quite important as well. So we need to make sure that both of those parties are happy, so that when they come together, that we have a great onboarding process and a good experience for the company as overall in performance.
Yes, I agree with you with this, Sam. I mean, we are a matchmaker between the two of us. And one thing that I would like to share with people is that, I mean, HR is conscious about this, but not in many cases like the hiring managers on a conscious level. I mean, professional jobs right now has become more like a project basis instead of a function itself. Mm. So when I try when the talent acquisition, when you have an open position within your organization, the hiring manager has one or two things in their mind. It's they want to get a results, or do you want to solve a problem, or a mix of both of these things. And how we interact in that process, it's what creates a lot of problems, because most of the hiring managers work on a traditional job descriptions, which I believe it's completely outdated in the environment that we live in. Right now, one of the things that it is critical and most important, it's we're betting more on potential more than ever. Why? Because the circumstances that surrounded the success of this position maybe are not exactly the same as the one that the person has in the previous jobs. So you really need to understand the surrounded, all the things that are going to affect the position in order to help the hiring manager to identify or to express the things that he is looking for. And for that, I will elaborate a little bit more at the end of the presentation when we explore the canvas, right? But I would like to go a little bit step earlier. So if we want, no, this is my slide. Sorry. So if we want to create a talent acquisition culture that delivers the best candidates, we need to understand what is people valuing at the current jobs? So what matters most in the job, and this is for the United States, this is a research made by the Boston Consulting Group. So what we see is people don't value most, in almost every part of the world, they don't value money. What they value in the US is a good relationship with the supervisor. They value financial stability of the employer, and they also value good work-life balance, and also good relationship with colleagues. So those things are the most important things that people value the most in the US market. So as you can see, this is very, very interesting, because when we compare this to other parts of the world, what people is valuing, it's, for example, only in 2 countries they value that financial stability, and the financial compensation is the number 1, and those countries are Russia and Ukraine. Even in Mexico, financial compensation is not the most important factor. What matters the most is career development, learning, and training opportunities. So if we want to really create a culture of talent attraction that delivers the best, we need to think about these options. So it is not only the job of a recruitment or the job of talent acquisition, it creates the whole organization, and this is the culture when takes into this process. So, but how do we, how can we?
One second, Jorge, before
Sure.
you pass on, I just want to make a comment on that. I think this is a great survey to look at. And one thing that it does point out is that it's not having a solution that's a one-size-fits-all across the globe. If you're a global employer or multinational company, you need to think about the different environments in which you operate in, and the different demands of the workforce. There's essentially a different employee value proposition that your company will have to customize in certain areas to really attract the top talent that you're looking for. And so it's important to look at this lens as well as what you offer as a company in that location.
Of course, yes, Sam, and also the most important thing is not to express those things in the walls in other corporate office or in Mexico or in other branches in the world, is to actually live it, to actually walk the talk. So so that's the most important thing.
That's right. You know, and there's I've spoken to leaders at companies that have a misalignment there, and there's nothing worse to in a new employee to feel like that they've been sold a bag of goods, right? That there's a bait and switch. You know, it's like, oh, I hear all these great things about the company, and it was a great experience with the talent acquisition team. And then now I'm in the company, and it's a completely different experience. And that's a horrible way to onboard a person. There needs to be consistency internal and versus the externally, to ensure that there's the generosity and trust that needs to be built in that organization.
Sure. I completely agree with that, Sam. So if we want to really to build this culture of talent acquisition, what do we need to do first? So basically, I would like to understand how organization has been working in the past. So in the past, organization has been working in a silo-based organization. Every department is completely independent. Finance is completely independent from HR. HR is completely different from operations and sales, and that's it. So working in this environment, it's only focuses on my activities, my tasks. So the impact that I have on the end customer, on the results that I have on my organization, maybe I am not having the visibility of how my work impacts the work of others. So if we really wanted to change this and attract the best of the candidate, talent acquisition needs to work on a more collaborative organization. They need to be fully aware that the job impacts the end client or the hiring manager, but also the team. So right now, I mean, people work in a silo-based organization because they didn't have on one part, they didn't have the technology, and in the other side is how organizations are run and how we treated talent. So I would like to explain that working on a silo-based approach creates like a rat race for the talent acquisition. So basically, it's the user has a need. It's always on a rush because I mean, talent is, I mean, I need an open position, so I need to fill it quickly with the best possible candidate, paying the least amount possible. So this, I mean, when talent acquisition see this, so they react. So they don't have the time to properly plan a succession plan. So they are most of the time working on a reactive mode. So when they are in a rush, the hiring manager describes in a general way what he wants, and he rarely thinks about the sense of complementary of his team. So also this, because he's working in that urgency. So the talent acquisition look what you tell them to look for, but not necessarily what are the things that you need to what are the things that you really need. So after that, in the following slides, I would like to explain a little bit how you can work with your hiring manager, how do you to express those things so you are on the same page. So,
Right. So one thing I just want to mention here, Jorge, is the you're right. I mean, this rat race, this cycle where you're just running your talent acquisition team crazy with reactive type of response is not a way to go. I mean, there's a way to prepare ahead of time, and we kind of brought that up a little bit in what Char was speaking about earlier. But if we look at our jobs across the organization and we understand, you know, what is required to, or the type of person we're looking for, and have that prepared for our talent acquisition team ahead of time, then we don't have to interrupt the manager and say, what exactly are you looking for? Tell me X, Y, and Z, the traits that you want. We should already know that by doing our previous work ahead of time.
Exactly. Exactly. In the following slides, I'm going to explain to you why it is not only a talent acquisition problem, it involves the whole organization, and the culture is extremely important to build this and to solve this in a very strategic matter. So then, because we are working in a rush, the recruitment team tolerates shallow feedback, cognitive bias by the hiring manager, chasing the hiring manager to provide feedback. So it is like every time that a hiring manager says I'm in a hurry because this is urgent, 70% of the time they exhibit the opposite. It is not that urgent for me. So I would so, and this rat race is always going on. So there's no visibility for the hiring for the talent acquisition team to make some changes. But how do we ended up like here? So I would like to say what is happening in reality. Well, most of the hiring managers, when they fill the position, they think like, check, the position now is working, and that's it. So my intervention maybe are not as important. So I interact with the people, but not in a very frequent mode. So I especially when people enter into an organization, to a new role, or maybe within the company, people would try to exhibit what you really want. So people don't enter into a job because they want to fail. They want to exhibit what you really want. So there's a honeymoon process in which I want to exhibit what you really want. The hiring manager or maybe the HR is going to work on the onboarding part, and then goes into the maturity. And then maturity, most of the hiring managers really don't interact with the people. So there's no confidence in order to explore career options, career development paths. And when I see development, I don't see I don't always mean a promotion, because a promotion, it's when you have an open position, but that doesn't mean that the people do not need to be developed in the role. So we rarely interact on a human basis, creating that trust and those safe space to explore what is happening, what is really happening as an individual, as a person, and also as a professional.
Mhm.
So they are not always aware that the dynamics of the team is always changing. Even when your team is exactly the same, the dynamics of the team is changing. Why? Because the expectations, I mean, when you grew up, when you get some commitments, like you get married, you get divorced, or maybe you get you get a loss in your family. I mean, those things changes your priorities. So the manager is not always aware about these things, because they have in their mind like, okay, I just filled the position, so it's running like. So what happens? So we have three scenarios. Sorry.
Just 1 second there. Char, do you have something to add to what Jorge was mentioning? Or you're on mute there, Char.
Right, yeah. So yeah, thank you. I would definitely say, oftentimes we put our recruitment processes in little boxes and little fragments. And unfortunately, I've seen recruiters sitting in like a cubicle, making those calls, those initial calls, and then the initial onboarding process starts to happen. So this is even like what you're talking about now, the honeymoon phase, the onboarding phase, the maturity phase. So unfortunately, between HR being from a big company, we have our processes and workflows. And unfortunately, the executive team is so disconnected with what that process is. You know, basically what they're looking, and I think you're going to talk about it, it's like days to fill. They're measuring days to fill. It's like they have that analytic that, you know, they take, if they're sitting in the boardroom, they have the green book in front of them and they got the days to fill numbers, and that's the only HR topic that they're talking about. And meanwhile, what you're talking about here is the honeymoon, the onboarding, the maturity phase. And we're grappling with, why is it our new hires are turning over within their first 90 days? What's going on? Why is it they can barely last?
Exactly.
And so what the challenge for us HR leaders is that we have to translate, you're talking days to fill, we're talking the true dynamics of the team that we need to work on and really address. And that is not just HR's job. Mm-hmm. It's not just, and that we need to make it that it's more meaningful to show the actual analytics of these phases, is what I'm thinking. I mean, these look like soft things, but it's so critical.
Right, and I think that what Jorge was mentioning as far as being for talent acquisition and HR and also the hiring manager all need to be more involved in the experience of that employee. It's akin, you know, it's akin to like a company selling a product and then never coming back and asking the customer what they thought about it, or never seeing if it still meets their needs and maybe something else might meet their needs better. It's important for us to really understand, you know, the employee experience through this journey.
And I find it interesting because we always talk about employee engagement surveys. So companies are constantly talking about Gallup and all the big engagement surveys. Why not sit down with your new hires within their first 90 days and really talk about their experience, their workforce experience in all these phases?
Right. What do you think, Sumit?
It's so costly. Hi, Sumit.
Oh, you're on mute, Sumit.
Sorry. So I think going back to what Char and Lisa were talking about, that 70% of engagement is based on the manager. So I've seen a lot of times when an employee leaves in the first 90 days, hiring managers or managers come back to the recruitment team and say, what kind of talent did you get us? The person was a clear misfit. You were the hiring manager. You went through the entire set of tools and systems to get the person on board. Now it's very easy to push blame to recruitment and say, you got us the wrong guy. Whereas, I mean, you approved the hiring. at an earlier stage, right? So I think that that working in silos is not only within recruitment; it's a huge gap between recruitment and talent management as well. What do you think?
I completely agree with you, Sumit. Completely agree. It is not only the problem is not only in HR, it is the whole organization. One of the things that I'm reading a book right now, which is called ABM is B2B. And this is one of the things that, I mean, it is not related to recruitment, but it's the challenge that it has, that it's always with sales and marketing. So they have vanity metrics. So it is a very interesting, book. I recommend it to everyone to listen to this to this session. But they talk about that. So there's a completely, this is my goals, my function.
Mm-hmm. Another book, Work Rules by Laszlo Bock. He was the head of Google in HR for a number of years, and and within how they were doing their hiring there is of course they were getting. I mean, it was actually they had the hiring councils or groups of people that are really outside the hiring manager. You know, it was basically who is that person going to be interacting with, and who's been on a good trend on bringing people that are been high performers in the past, and bringing a bunch of different people in to be part of that hiring experience to select candidates that really were driving a difference at Google. So another good read.
Yeah, I haven't read that Sam, but it is on my bucket list. But thank you. Yes. So when we see these things is we have three alternatives with people, and I completely agree with Char. I mean, the onboarding part mostly is responsibility. The hiring manager is the responsible to give a proper onboarding, because HR doesn't know the ins and outs of your position, of your team. That knowledge goes to the leader, and the leader needs to really to explain this in a very simple manner to the new hire.
And I would agree with you, Jorge. I also think that the buy-in and the ownership for the entire team is really critical. Obviously, the entire team has to accept and work and be partners and thrive together as a team. And so in my organization, we're very much about, this is a team hire. And so we really try to get the buy-in and the involvement and cooperation in hiring. I mean, yes, we do offer hiring bonuses or like referral bonuses to our employees that are extremely generous, but we also explain that this is really going to help you thrive in this environment as well.
Yes, I agree with that also, Char. But I also would like to go a little bit further. If we want to really improve our quality of hire, it is not only to give training on recruitment or interviews to your talent acquisition department, it also to help your hiring managers to become better talent judges. And for example, one of the things that I see constantly is that I do not. We have you have an interview and there's a hiring manager and there's the candidate. You don't know, because he's completely alone. You don't know if the hiring manager is making the wrong question that creates a bad answer from the candidate. So he doesn't, I mean, if you work, instead of doing on a single interviews, you consider another person, maybe your HR partner, to be with you in this interview. He can give you feedback. What are the things that you did good? What are the things that you need to improve? I mean, people will pay more attention to that part. I mean, to be prepared for the interview than go to the interview like, okay, I haven't read your resume, so let me just improvise. So this is not if we really want to create a talent acquisition culture, we need to really improve also our hiring managers in that process too.
Wouldn't you not agree that helping the leaders understand how competencies, talents, preferences align to the questions and really get that buy-in and engagement? It's not just a typical interview question on a piece of paper that you fill out a typical box.
Yes.
You know, I mean, we've all had the graph, the little piece of paper we fill out. I mean, I think getting that embracement and buy-in to why we're asking these questions and to see the behavioral outcomes that are going to be impacted on the organization, and really getting your hiring team involved in that is a big transformation in how you can improve your hiring ability.
Yes, completely. I agree with that, Char. In that part, I'm going to explain a little bit later in the canvas how you can align the context of your position to the behaviors that you really want.
Mm-hmm.
I will, but I completely agree with that part, Char. So these are in this slide. I would like to show you. I mean, we have three things with people. So we offer them a new challenge. People leave the organization, or we let people to stay in the organization and their performance decline over time. So and the worst case is the blue one, in which we let the performance to decline at so level that when people leave their role, they think it's their fault, they feel bad. So and I have interviewed a lot of hiring managers that says, well, his time has come. You know, I mean, why do we let people to leave the organization at that point? Wouldn't it be easier if we could have a talent dialogue with my boss and says, okay, I would like to explore another options. Another headhunter called me, or another company is looking for me. I mean, you don't need the permission of your CEO to have this kind of a conversation. But what would happen if you create, as a hiring manager, this safe space in which you can tell people you are the owner of your own career, and we would love if you would stay within the organization. But if you feel uncomfortable, please feel free to explore other options. If we give them, I mean, what happens in reality, and I see it all the time. So as a headhunter, we look for candidates. We don't tell the hiring manager, or those candidates doesn't speak freely with the boss. So what happens? So he leaves abruptly from your company. So he leaves abruptly from your company. So then go back to the talent acquisition, and it creates the rat race, right? I mean, there will always be like urgencies, but I believe we can reduce it like 50%, 60%. Those urgency, if we really work with the hiring manager and create this safe space in which people can explore the options for their career, right?
Yeah, we've spoken about that a lot as far as having these regular one-on-one conversations and knowing what your career ambitions are for each one of your employees, what their expectations are, where do they feel like they want to go next, what are their interests in building competencies in other career tracks. And so that's having that talent profile on each one of your employees is critical, so we can help. We know when we can source from internally and when we need to look outside.
Yes,
Yes.
so we've definitely done that. We've helped our employees transfer internally in our organization. For example, from an advocate role to a representative compliance role. In addition, I've talked to my employees about, if this is not a good fit for you, I've now helped you with a competency profile to really analyze the best career fit for you. And if you leave on a good term with us and work with us, I will be happy to support you in transitioning to a better opportunity. And our employees feel it's a bit of reassurance. We care about you as a human being. We have heart, and we care about your future. And if this isn't a good fit, we'll help you. We'll help you transition.
Yes, that's amazing, and I that's very very valuable for that you do this and within your organization.
Yes. Yeah,
So
and if you listen to some of our prior recordings, we have some career transition support processes to help people transition. There's a lot of change going on right now with companies.
yeah,
Yeah,
and oh, sorry to interrupt. I know I must apologize because we're all having such a great conversation, but we are coming towards the end of our time, and I would really want to see Jorge's canvas on this. So.
thank you very very much, Sam. So basically, it's one of the things that I would like to say. It's traditional job descriptions. I believe that are dead, but it is very difficult if we want to work with hiring managers in order to express themselves. So I really like this picture a lot. So how do we work with? How can I begin to interact with the hiring manager and create a safe space in which we can discuss what you really want from this position? So we created something like this is the talent acquisition canvas, and the talent acquisition canvas it has 4 main modules. One of them is we really need to understand the alignment of whom. What is the organization? What is the business strategy? What I really want to understand, what is the success of the hiring manager? How many times have you seen job descriptions that describes a lot of the activities, the success of the position, but they never describe the success for the hiring manager? If they're working with a team, I really need to understand what success might look like for the hiring manager. So one thing to understand and to, I mean, that I recommend to all in acquisition is people, it's don't begin your session with the hiring manager. Tell me about your position. Let's go a little bit bigger. Let's talk about a bit of the strategy. You can create some insight with the hiring manager, asking some questions. For example, I have seen in the market this, and this. What is your position? What is your point of view of this as a company? And then you explore, I mean, what is the success for the hiring manager look like? Then we can move on to the second part, which is what does the person really do? And when we say, we always encourage people to say in their own words, please explain to me your results not in a smarty goal, because I have seen if you go to a hiring manager and you say, I need to please to tell me your smarty goal or smart goals. I mean, people get really confused. I always tell them, please explain to me in your own words what success might look like. If I am the person you're going to hire in this position, please in your own words, what do I need to do in order to consider me like a great success for your position? And he will tell you in their own words, which is extremely important. Then what you need to understand is what are the things that need to be improved. So this is very critical important. Why? Because every time that you have a position open or there's a replacement, there's always something that you need to improve. So we need to understand that part. And also when we understand those parts, then go back, then please explain me these activities. And the activities that you can see are divided in 3 things. Why do we divide it in 3 things? Because most of the time the job description only describes the activity itself. It is not, I mean, work does not always like a function activity. So I need to understand the scope of the position. So I really want to understand the input, the activity, and also the output. So in order to really understand what are the scope of the position. So when I understand this, I always ask to the client, okay, what are the measurements? And the measurements, maybe it's not the right word in English, but it's how are you going to value the person in the technical knowledge? What are the specific questions that you will ask to this person in order to be completely aligned with you? So that's one part. And the other part is I really want to understand what are the challenges and risks of this position. For example, Jorge, we are looking for a financial controller, but last year we have a observation with our audit firm in which we didn't process inventory correctly, for example. So we need to work on a very with the plant manager, and the plant manager is a very tough guy. So I really need to understand that, right? Also, the change management that it's going to take place. So it is how the boss is going to help me to support this change management or not. This is something that I have learned, for example, in a time of crisis like that, in which people you're telling people that you need to change. People is willing to make that change because you know that everything is burning and it's an emergency. We need to react now. But when we need to do some changes in the organization and the people is not aware of this, I need to work with the hiring manager in order to create this conscience of the team that change is needed. Mm-hmm. So this is critical important. So when I understand this part, the internal use or the external uses, all of this, now I can understand what are the behaviors that are really attached to the position. Because it is also a dialogue, and I wanted to put it like that. I recommended, if you use it, to have 2 separate sessions with your hiring manager. One is to get all the ideas, and then the second one is to provide the feedback. What are you to explain that? I mean, what are the things that you are recommended? I mean, why? I have seen work with clients in which they explore these things. That, okay, Jorge, this is super right. I mean, the compensation that I am offering, it's very below what I needed. So I need to make that change. So you want to help that dialogue. So this map can really help you to understand and to create the competencies on how to profile positions.
Well, this is great, Jorge, and we are down to a couple more minutes for the rest of our session here. So I highly recommend everybody go back and watch this, because this talent acquisition canvas is so invaluable. So to wrap up, we're going to need to wrap up here real quick. On the last slide, are you happy to talk with 15 minutes or so with our participants?
Of course, of course.
So can we go to your contact slide? I think we're going to need to invite you back because you had so much information here.
Oh, yes, absolutely.
Yeah, we need to invite you back because you have so much information. I think we didn't even get a chance to go through everything.
Yeah, I think that canvas that you showed is very detailed, and there's a lot of steps in there that I think that I would just love to dive into more. I mean, I think the amount of value that organizations can get from this process is huge. And of course, I keep on looking at that compensation side of it as my thing, because I'm really interested. There's no better information that you can get. No survey out there that can tell you what candidates are requesting when they're coming into the job as far as the rates that they require. So yeah, I really like your process here. It's great.
Thank you.
Thank you. So if do you want me, how do you handle these questions? Do you provide me the questions? Do I need to do something in the system?
Oh, so what we'll do, as we're just wrapping up here, Jorge, is that anybody that would like to learn more about this process or to review their talent acquisition processes with Jorge, please sign up for, bring up that poll, and please sign up for a 15-minute consultation. I'm sure he'll.
Can you put the slide up, Sam?
Oh, here, let me show.
How they contact you?
Yeah, so you can contact me through the here's my contact information here, and I'll get you in touch with Jorge if you would like to go through the canvas in more detail, or you can just go ahead and select that poll up there for more information.
Yeah, so Jorge, we definitely did not give you enough time today to go through everything that you wanted to share. So you definitely had some great information. So I'm thinking what we'd love to do is have you come back.
Yes, of course.
And then also our participants can reach out to you directly and learn more, because really solidifying your talent acquisition process and attracting a great culture is so vital. There's so many pieces of what you could do. So, as we're starting to wrap up here, so everybody, if you would like to participate with us, please reach out to us with sam@comteam.net. Go out on comteam.net. You'll see all of our prior recordings, including Jorge and our team today recorded so many free gifts and opportunity. And we're so excited to have everyone join us next week on Wednesday, 10 a.m. Mountain Time, or globally, whatever that translates to.
Yeah, and we have a very special guest next week, Robert Grossman. We're going to learn about teaming and how to bring the best people together to get the best results. And so I'm really excited to hear more from Lisa Jackson here on our team and Robert Grossman on that topic. So looking forward to it.
Okay, well, thank you, everyone. Sorry to end a little bit early here as far as, well, we're ending on time, actually. So thank you so much. You have a wonderful week. Be safe. And we look forward to seeing you here next week. And please share. Please share. So thank you very much.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you, Jorge.
Thank you. Thank you for
everyone.
the invitation.
Thank you, Jorge.
Thank you.
Ciao.
Ciao.
Bye.